Imagine watching the news today, seeing devastating floods sweep through a city, houses submerged, lives turned upside down. Now, picture this same scene, but thousands of years ago. What if the greatest flood story ever told wasn't just a story? The tale of Noah's Ark is one of the most famous in history. A massive boat, a world-drowning flood, and a divine command to save humanity and the animal kingdom. For centuries, it's been a cornerstone of faith. But it's also been a battleground. This is where belief collides with science, and myth clashes with history. Why, even in our modern world, does this ancient story continue to spark such intense debate? Let's start by digging into the Earth itself. Geologists across the globe have found something puzzling. Massive, widespread layers of sediment that seem to have been laid down incredibly quickly, all at once. It's evidence that points not to slow, gradual change, but to catastrophic water events on a scale we can barely comprehend. Could these be the fingerprints of a global flood? Then there's the evidence from archaeology. Beneath the sands of the Middle East, explorers have unearthed ancient cities buried under thick, sterile layers of mud. These aren't just layers of dust accumulated over time. They suggest a sudden, violent event that wiped the slate clean. An event inconsistent with the normal rise and fall of civilizations. Some see this as a tantalizing clue, a physical echo of a great destructive flood. This brings us to one of the most compelling scientific theories, the Black Sea deluge. Researchers Ryan and Pittman proposed that around 7,500 years ago, the Mediterranean Sea, swollen by melting glaciers, breached a natural dam at the Bosporus Strait. It unleashed a torrent of salt water 200 times more powerful than Niagara Falls, flooding the freshwater Black Sea basin and transforming it into the saltwater sea we know today. This was a massive, regional cataclysm that would have displaced countless people, searing an unforgettable memory into their collective consciousness. Could this be the historical seed from which the Noah story grew? What's truly fascinating is that the story of a world-ending flood isn't unique to the Bible. Long before the Hebrew scriptures were written, the Mesopotamian Epic of Gilgamesh told of a man named Utnapishtim, who built a great boat to survive a flood sent by angry gods. In ancient Greece, Deucalion and his wife Pyrrha were the sole survivors of a similar cataclysm. From the stories of the Manu in India to the traditions of the Hopi in North America. Cultures on every continent, many with no contact with each other, tell strikingly similar tales. Let's look at the common threads. In nearly every version, there's a divine warning. A chosen hero tasked with building a vessel, a great flood that destroys humanity, and a pair of survivors who repopulate the earth. Is it possible that all these cultures independently invented the same complex story? Or do these parallel narratives point to a shared, ancient memory, a real, traumatic event so profound that it echoed through generations and across continents, each culture retelling it in its own way? Of course, we have to address the giant ark in the room. The scientific and logistical challenges of a literal, global flood are immense. How could Noah possibly fit 2 of every animal's 7 of some onto a single vessel? Where would all that water have come from, and where did it go? Maintaining genetic diversity to repopulate the entire planet from one boatload of animals presents enormous biological hurdles. These are fair and difficult questions that lead many to believe the story must be metaphorical. This is where interpretations diverge. Some scholars suggest the biblical flood wasn't global, but a massive, hyper-regional event, just like the Black Sea deluge might have been. From the perspective of the people who lived through it, their whole world was indeed underwater. This view attempts to reconcile the biblical text with geological reality, seeing the narrative as a historically rooted account described in ancient, phenomenological terms. But what if we're asking the wrong question? Perhaps the original purpose of the flood story wasn't to be a scientific or historical textbook. For ancient audiences, it was a powerful theological drama. It was a story about justice and mercy, about destruction and renewal. It explored the relationship between humanity and the divine, and the idea of a covenant, a sacred promise for a new beginning. Maybe its deepest meaning has nothing to do with water levels or boat dimensions. So, where does that leave us? We have intriguing geological clues of catastrophic floods. We have a tapestry of shared myths from every corner of the globe that seem too similar to be a coincidence. And we have the enduring power of a story that continues to challenge and inspire. In the end, maybe the truth of the Great Flood isn't a single, simple answer. Perhaps it's found in the convergence of all these things. In the scientific possibility of a real devastating event, in the profound spiritual lessons it teaches, and in the universal human need to make sense of catastrophe and find hope for survival. The story has survived for millennia, not just because of what happened, but because of what it means. What do you think? Is the flood story a literal account of history, a powerful myth, or something in between? I'd love to hear your perspective in the comments below. Let's continue the conversation. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into the past, don't forget to like and subscribe for more explorations into history's greatest mysteries.